Welcome to Story Maze, a place to lose yourself in wondrous fairy tales and broadcasts from other realities. This is the second episode of an audio drama called They Broadcast from Beneath the Sea. Military Entanglement.
Dear listeners, I welcome you to tonight's news on our investigative news show with Radio ReScience. Last week we did our broadcast from our new radio station, which we set up in a secret science lab after a raid by an ominous secret government agency. Back then, we only set up our equipment as far as we needed it to bring you the news and send out a message of our unwavering dedication to journalism. From then until today, we tidied up this place and every worksperson has their own space. So far, we managed to settle it in and send out our journalists back into the fringes, the trenches, and all those dirty spots on the map that nobody wants the nose of the public sniffling in around. The most interesting event occurred during our exploration of the superior secret science lab. We found a hidden door leading into a secured room. Marcia from accounting went in, and we haven't seen her for the last 3 days. But by this point, the sickly green light emitted by the room is growing dimmer. We will keep you up to date with the development of our discoveries. For the news of the day, we received a statement of an eyewitness to most devious maritime activities on our very own shores. The information contained in the following report was given by Art Thomason, living in Freeport, Florida. Freeport is a small community on our east coast settled on the Choctawhatchee Bay. It is a quiet place full of good people looking after their own honest business. One would never suspect that this peaceful place could be so horrendously disturbed. Art Thomason is a craftsman and well integrated into the community. Aside of being a loving father, he also likes fishing. Some evenings he enjoys walking down to the bay, sitting by the seaside, and drop 1 or 2 fishing poles into the bay. One evening he was pondering whether to go for fishing or not, because he could have used some relaxation after a long day of honest work. So it was already late, and he decided to go for a short trip to the shore before the night fell completely. When he arrived at the bay, he noticed something of the utmost strangeness. Overnight, rows and rows of poles had appeared in the water. They reached from the tip of the bay up to close to the east side of the bridge of Route 331. As the good-hearted man that he is, he went to his fishing boat, which he likes to take out on Sundays after the service. Although the horizon was already turning a bloody red, he unleashed the boat and rowed out to the poles in the middle of the bay. They turned out to be made from wood and had aluminum bowls on top of each. One could describe them as very strange-looking and almost as from outer space. No man had ever seen such contraptions before. Light got scarce, and the dark of the night wellered up from the depth of the waters as brave. Arch Thomason drew closer to one pole. The water surface was flat and treacherously calm, and little did he know what horrid dangers would befall him. Our courageous handyman tied the boat to a wooden structure, stood up and closely inspected the metal head. It was extremely smooth, without any chinks or cracks. the rim, he found an utterly incredible thing. It was no surprise that something hideous was to be found on them. There was an inscription of letters and numbers. Arch immediately concluded that this was military code. What devious reasons the military could have to place a secret project in the bay, Arch Thomason asked himself. But there was little time to follow this most enlightened line of thoughts. Suddenly, the boat was hit by something very heavy, and Arch Thomason lost his balance. As he started falling into the salty embrace of the seawater, he grabbed for something to hold on. With sweaty fingers, he searched the pole for some grip, and against all hope, he found one. With all the strength his hard-working hand could muster, he held onto the wood until the waters calmed down again. Although fine Arch Thomason had the feeling that this was only a temporary delay of worse things to come, he took his time to breathe, and then, look at that, what his hands locked onto. It was unbelievable. Strange, otherworldly markings were engraved into the pole. Arch was a good student in his school days, and his common sense told him these were not the kind of marks a human being would make. No, these were alien. Processing this truly outstanding information, he was unprepared for the second attack. The boat rocketed out of the water for a short moment. As it crashed back down onto the surface, it landed in such a slanted way that the seawater entered the fishing boat immediately. Arch couldn't hold onto the pole or the rocking boat anymore, and so he fell into the water. Suddenly, waves crashed above his head, and he was pushed down deep into the bay's murky waters. As the well-trained everyman he is, knowing his ways around his hometown and being a good swimmer, he tried to get back to the surface as fast as he could. The water masses above him were deeply red, as if they were mixed with blood. He made mighty strokes with his arms. Then a sharp pincer caught his leg and cut into his flesh. The determined Arch gritted his teeth and tried to get loose. But this was a battle he wasn't made for. His enemy was at the aquatic advantage. And so, the numb darkness of unconsciousness surrounded Mr. Thomason's mind. He didn't know how much time had gone by as he awoke in the middle of the night. The place he was in was very strange. Mangroves surrounded him and the banks of the river he found himself at. There was a concrete entrance to a hidden base close by. A military truck was parked close to a small encampment. Military people buzzed around, loading crates from the truck into some tents. But there was something more strange. One might even say fishy about them. Arch could see it best with the guards. One of the two noticed our brave hero awakening and came closer. But he didn't walk directly in on a forward fashion towards him. No, he scuttled sideways like a crab. "What do you want from me?" Arch muttered between his gritted teeth. The answer came with some suspicious and in no way human clicking sounds. "We want nothing from you. We only want this land and all of you to die." The weapon the military guard directed at Arch was made from a silvery material, and a lot of lights blinked on it. This was no ordinary weapon. Arch was sure this must be some sort of aquatic power weapon. "You were too close to our science project, and therefore you must die." The brave craftsman realized the predicament he was in. They bound him to a tree with cables, and the guard pointed his weapon at him. Our handyman swallowed hard, but he is a proud American, not to be trifled with. As the crafty man he is, he knew his fair share of knots and ropes, and started fiddling with them behind the tree trunk, as he wittily distracted the suspicious man in front of him.
So, who are you? Why do you want to take away the homes of good U.S. citizens?
The other man smiled, but it was a too wild smile, as if the military man was unfamiliar with such emotions.
There will be no answers for you as to why we people of the sea have need of this land. And now you will be executed.
The weapon gave a very electric humming noise as the safety was released. In this moment, Arch freed himself. He shouted at the devilish guard and threw all his body weight against him. Thrown back by this righteous force, the attacked man stumbled backwards. Heroic Mr. Thomason picked something up and remarked, "You dropped this," just as the surprised fiend wasn't able to hold on to the weapon. And as he pointed the aquatic power weapon at the guard, the invader decided to unveil his true nature. Mankind is not prepared for the horror Arch Thomason was exposed to at this very moment. The clothes on the skin of the guardsman were torn apart and splattered all over the place. And in the place of a human being stood a giant crab, towering twice double as high as our hero, red like blood and armed with giant pincers. The beast lunged at Arch, and he had to quickly sidestep. Then he readjusted the weapon and hit the trigger. The sea creature exploded in a shower of brightly colored liquid as Arch Thomason, the patriot, cried out, "Get off my land!" Naturally, the other crab people were alarmed by the sound of their exploding accomplice. Arch could hear them shedding their own skin or prepare their aquatic power weapons. It was time to leave. As fast as he could, he moved towards the community of Freeport to warn the residents. But whilst he strategically retreated, Arch swore to himself he would return and unveil the evil doings of the monstrous invaders from the depths as soon as possible. It is probably better for his health he never found the secret base again and contacted us instead. That's the news so far. I have to say, it is no surprise to me that part of the military has connections to what lurks below, which staggers across our shores to be precise. A military that does secret and undisclosed projects on our coasts. To what end? I ask you. To what end? You see, it is necessary to look into these kinds of things. Great honors should be bestowed upon Arch Thomason for his fearless investigation and dutiful reporting. Our new radio station provides us with many options for research. My editor wants to explore the possibilities of radio science, and we have to buy a lot of battery juice to generate the electricity for all the very important and highly scientific Tesla coils we are going to use. So, we intensified. Yeah, that's right, we intensified our sponsorship, and I am proud to deliver this message from our sponsors. There is something lingering out there. Something dark and terrible. Become one with the lingering. Walk on the black minerals. Follow the path. Once again, I get very interesting vibes from this message. But my editor told me everything is fine and under strict control. So rest assured, the enemy is out there and not on the radio. For so long, this has been the news on Radio ReScience with your news anchor Tom Murley. Stay vigilant, stay curious, and most importantly, stay safe in these dire times. Because they come from beneath the sea.
They Come From Beneath the Sea is a tabletop RPG written by Matthew Dawkins and published by Onyx Path Publishing. This piece of fan material was written, recorded and edited by Tom Murr, co-editing by Ben B. The music on this episode was produced by Eric Matthias. Find his work at www.soundimage.org. All the art on that channel is designed by Looney Dragon. You can find her at Twitter with her label @LooneyDragon. Thank you for listening.